Just wanted to say a quick hello to everybody. And I haven't been on in a long time. I've been pregnant most of the past few months. I'm waiting on the baby. Um, so content slowed down. A lot of things slowed down for me. But through this time that I've had to kind of just reflect on the type of content that I'm interested in, I've been able to synthesize a message that I think really encapsulates the spiritual path, the spiritual journey that many find themselves on. And this is, again, a synthesis of months of just accumulating energy and not being ready to, or even willing to share, because this has been such an introverted journey for me, such a private, personal, intimate path, which is ironic because it's also the path of unification, of harmony among opposites. So in my case, this really came to the forefront with this pregnancy, mostly because I'm incubating so much life energy internally. I'm not really exerting it outward. And life, on the other hand, continues to put that pressure on. It continues to push upon my awareness in a way where I'm forced to look at every aspect of my energetic field that still is in conflict or in resistance with what is. And so what I have come to learn and realize through time is that the cycle of spirituality is a 3-part process. And the first part is safety, a sense of security, a sense of relaxation in a way. The second part of that is surrender, right? The ability to let go, the effect of relaxation, the ability to, like if you've done yoga and at the end of your yoga set in Shavasana, you just totally unplug, right? You're not holding on, you're not constricted and tight and wound and bound and stressed. And then the third part of that, which is, again, this is a personal journey I've been on for 9 months now, is creativity or expression or the song of truth. And I do believe, just after what I've been through, that these are intrinsically linked areas, not separate from one another. And let's look at them individually. I want to talk about them individually. When we look at a sense of safety, we're dealing with all that shadow work that we spend months on together. Okay, we're dealing with trauma specifically. And that said, we're dealing with the physiology of the body, the makeup of the nervous system. And when we go through an event in life where stress is not able to be discharged, the system goes into a preservation mode where it attempts to survive in the given stressors. And most times when that energy is not able to discharge, meaning it can't run away or it can't push against a stressor, like confrontation, for example, it will go into collapse and paralysis. And so you deal with the root of powerlessness, the root of stuckness, and that's why we have so many schools of healing like shamanism, soul retrieval, where the psyche's actually, again, splintered off on a timeline, gotten stuck there, and the person simply just no longer feels whole and complete. And if you're really interested in that, which I was for months, I studied it. Check out Porges' polyvagal theory. That goes into it very, very specifically. And so that focus on the nervous system becomes on really creating a sense of safety, intimacy in the relational field between oneself and one's community, oneself, one's pets, oneself, one's, nature, wherever there can be established a sense of that, that reconditioning of the energy that's splintered off. So you can't get to surrender without that. You simply cannot. I just want to be super real with everybody who thinks they can skip one of these 3 elements. I've tried. I think a lot of us have tried, and eventually you have to face what's real, right? You have to meet yourself on these levels of, on these different realities where the system is still learning to be human. I don't know how else to put that. So there's a lot of techniques for establishing safety, but ultimately they absolutely must recondition the nervous system. In non-duality, i.e. in awake consciousness, that happens on its own, right? Because you have your awareness has created that incubator. It's created that container for you. It's created that womb. So you have that, and depending on the degree of karma or trauma or whatever we want to call it, shadow, depending on the extent to which you've harbored unreleased energy, that is the amount of time it'll take you to kind of process in this conscious awake presence these things. And for me, even throughout this pregnancy, I've still been dealing with a sense of needing to create boundaries, needing to, sometimes for a lot of us, isolate ourselves for an extended period of time so that we can feel that sense of safety and security and process and heal all these discompartmentalized elements. And then when that's been done to a large extent, I don't know if it ever heals fully. I think it does, and it can, depending on how deep you want to go with all that. You end up in surrender. That's the result of that safety, that cultivation of safety. And so surrender is only possible when we understand the makeup of the psyche, when we understand the power of the psyche, when we understand the autonomy and the sovereignty of the psyche. And we're no longer blaming our job, our money, our circumstances, other people, our partners, our illnesses, our traumas, our addictions, our, whatever it may be for our circumstances. And that's really kind of almost like the rising of that Shakti, or the rising of that power, of that inner knowing that's been cultivated in that incubation period, in that safety period. And surrender, obviously we have this very feminine element to the psyche, this very flowy, watery element. If you don't feel safe, you will not be able to let go and let your awakening move through you. Period. There will always be some dark spots or some constriction or something where that energy's stuck. So again, you have a feminine aspect of the psyche that's called the subconscious. It's the storehouse of all information. Right now you're focused on me and you're listening to what I'm saying, but your brain simultaneously is logging in all the information that I've given you in the past, and also it's logging in these mountains. It's taking note of any birds in the trees there. It's noticing the weather behind me. It's noticing that I'm wearing yellow. And so the subconscious is continually on. It never turns off. The conscious mind, it goes on and off, right? You go to bed at night, and then you wake up in the morning. It's off and then it's on. And so that's the more, I like to look at that as the masculine kind of energy. And again, this is the brilliance of dualism. You have the masculine and the feminine. And also, I want to link up epigenetics here, where who's the guy that's big in that, pioneering that? Bruce Lipton. I think he's the guy that really figured out how this subconscious or this environmental element of the psyche really impacts our experiences, right? So what does that have to do with surrender? Well, quite a lot, because if you understand that your brain is dictating to you what you see and what you experience, then there's no longer that sense of like, I have to get out there and make sure everything is set up a certain way and people are doing what I need them to do. And life is continually measuring up to this illusory idea of perfection that I have, right? You're not manhandling this impossible world to match up to your reality. You don't have to do that anymore. So that can stop. All you have to do is look at your own perception and your own beliefs and your own responses and your own reactions and your own desires, wants, and needs. And you can discern from that easily where you're still not hooked up properly, right? Because if you've been traumatized, and if you've been, and I hate to even say the word trauma, because trauma implies this victim perpetrator thing, but really a lot of these energies that are being reconditioned in awakening are so subtle. They're so subtle. And not only that, they're transpersonal. So they're coming from ancestors, they're coming from family lineages, collective patterns, and you are continually being pummeled with this nonstop through the media, through your neighbors' belief systems, through what the movies are showing you, through the music you're listening to, through literally every single thing. Because like I said, you're not just listening to me here, you're paying attention to the whole. So you're continually being inundated with information that the brain is choosing to believe in. So you have to wake up from that. If you don't wake up from that, if you don't wake up from not only your past conditioning, but the conditioning that you have right now and are continually being inundated with, surrender cannot and will not happen. Okay? It just can't. Thirdly, creation. The creation principle. Right? Do you feel safe enough to surrender to creation? That's the big question. Do you feel safe enough to surrender to creation? And here this question really implies that creation is an ongoing aspect of who you are, right? It's intrinsically linked to your very nature, to your very being, to your very essence. And what you are creating can either be conscious or it can be unconscious, right? If you don't recognize why your perception is the way that it is, it's just going to continually give you the things that you're unconscious of until you become conscious of them. And this is where it kind of gets, it's almost like a relief, because when you realize that, then your triggers become your keys to liberation. Like, it's almost like if that person keeps coming up and triggering that same button within you, then why are you going into your room to meditate for 2 hours? Like, look at the belief that's under that trigger and deal with it. Because that's where your freedom is. Not in, getting more into a higher state of consciousness and awareness, which ironically can't happen unless you've integrated all these aspects. So, creation for me in the past was very programmed, very unconscious, extremely mechanical, and it wasn't that spontaneous, inspired flow. which is the unity of the harmony, the dance of all of life, right? If you're following your excitement, you're following your unity, you're following your truth, you're following your inspiration, you're following that natural joy that arises within you. And this is huge, when you realize that to be alive means to be joyful, and not in a way where it's like, you're buying things and traveling all over the place and you have all these amazing friends and all these luxury items. No, it's to be joyful within your own being, to be joyful within your own self. I think and I believe that these three things just continually go in a little loop with one another, safety, surrender, creation, safety, surrender, creation. And when we have that formula down, when we look at things like that, then our awakening journey doesn't become like a static, dead thing anymore. It becomes alive. It becomes alive. You have all aspects of yourself showing up at the table, wanting to participate, wanting to be human, wanting to be alive, wanting to experience life. Let me take a moment and see what else there is that I wanted to say. So that describes the I am, right? That describes the I am. And we return here continuously, relentlessly, with the utmost devotion to the truth, which is not I am. Right? So can you be aware of all those things and yet also be aware that they are not you and that you are not them? Can you watch all this happening with this level of awareness, with this consciousness, yet still not identify them as who you are? And that's really the game changer. That's really the I don't even know what to call it. That's really what it's all about, right? But you can't have one without the other, because we have everything and no thing. In non-duality, we have everything and no thing. We have both. So anyway, it's been great to say hi again. Another synthesis of months of content, including, an awareness of heightened awareness because of the pregnancy. So that's been very interesting. Hopefully next time you see me there, you could meet the little guy. Okay? Great to see everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I miss you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.